Webinars. I thought we've been doing this for a while. Those of you who have been good enough to tune in, and we've covered a great many topics: um, stress, aerobic conditioning, thermal regulation, things that, for those of you who are involved in fitness or pursuit of any athletic objective, have run into. I'm certain from time to time. Perhaps before we get more detailed, and I plan to get into resistance training, uh, 2 or 3 episodes should be sufficient to cover the basics without doing one-on-one uh, interactive conversation. Um, I want to get into flexibility. We've covered aerobic conditioning, and that's important. I think I think we should step back. And I saw an interesting podcast recently um, that individuals involved in the service industry or in producing a product, make the mistake of explaining the product and how to use the product, but don't really clarify as why is this necessary. And those people and corporations who do this effectively enjoy success, and those who don't kind of miss the target a bit. So I'd like to step back tonight and think about, why are you about to, or are you currently involved in the pursuit of optimum health and fitness? There are a myriad of objectives depending on the individual. It is true that health and fitness are objectives per se, in and of themselves, to be optimally fit and to maintain good health. And the benefits are relatively clear. Um, some of those benefits we've covered in previous chapters: aerobics benefits, lowering blood pressure, lowering pulse rate, increasing the strength of your heart, your cardiovascular system. We covered that a bit. And that's pretty clear. That information has been out there for a while, and it's certainly all over the internet. The benefits. There are long-term benefits while you're performing the exercise, benefits after the exercise, and long-term benefits that people don't really think about too much. But overall, it's the improvement of quality of life that seems to be the most motivating factor for most people. Now, again, that can be several interpretations. Improving your quality of life could be losing weight. Improving your quality of life would be playing a better golf game. But let's take another look at, as we get older, the natural process of aging will eventually catch up to us. Now, is it going to be sooner or later? Well, I'd like to give you a couple of instances that might clarify this. Everybody is aware that the coronavirus is the pandemic that we're involved in. And most of, I assume, our listening audience have taken the necessary steps to achieve their vaccinations. I recently went to the second vaccination about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And in my ward in Japan, a certain age group is permitted to come and take to get the vaccination on a certain day. They have to have some kind of controls. So most of the people in the room, about 20 people, were about my age. Now, I just turned 75. Most of the people in the room looked to be at least that old, around between 70 and 75. It struck me that of the 20, approximately 20 people who were there, uh, 6 of them could not walk without the aid of a cane. and 4 were in wheelchairs. And it struck me, uh, these people, and myself included, are gradually approaching the end of our life. So, is that a joyous moment? Are we still capable of uh, demonstrating or realizing our potential? As we get older, I think the developing a potential is kind of a stretch. I understand that. But more than that is um, maintaining a sense of value, a sense of worth, a sense of pertinence, of functionality. And the world looks upon aged people as uh, giving up on that they are no longer important. They no longer carry the influence or capable of performing tasks that would help themselves or anybody else. That really is the antithesis, I believe, of the human condition. I believe that all people have worth. I believe that people can demonstrate that worth in several different ways. Uh, but most of the ways that they can demonstrate that worth require that they be reasonably healthy and reasonably physically capable. Now, I know I listen to other people on podcasts. One person in particular, who's a doctor with degrees from MIT and Harvard, who is a personal health consultant to Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest people in the world. And he has said on his broadcast, and I think it's true, that Mr. Buffett has said he would give up all of his wealth if he could only be healthy and physically capable. But we're not talking about running a marathon. We're talking about walking to the store, climbing stairs, those kinds of things. It's not just whether you can do it or whether you can't. It's the fact that if you can't, it affects your sense of your own well-being, your own sense of your own personal value, your personal worth. And I think after teaching people for about fitness and health for over 50 years, I see the changes in people when they adopt an exercise regimen in the pursuit of health, or again, a golf game, or playing tennis. It's what that achieves on a psychological level, and what it achieves in terms of enhancing how they feel about themselves, their confidence in who they are and what they are, and they're still capable. And I think fitness allows us to do that. And I think it allows us to do it in a unique way. Most of us, as we travel through life, seek verification of our worth. I mean, whether you're a child that seeks more affection from uh, parents or teachers or friends, or whether it's a young man or young woman just starting out in life who wants to be recognized for their abilities, or middle life, still. Everybody appreciates being appreciated and a demonstration of that. The Unfortunately, we look for that others. Uh, we look for that approval, if you will, uh, of ourselves from others, and I think that's not the best way to enhance your sense of worth, self-esteem. I think it requires something that comes from you, that you can control, that you can demonstrate, that you still are physically and emotionally and mentally capable of uh, achieving any goal you set your mind to. The problem with receiving approval from others is that they bring their own uh, baggage to the equation. Uh, they may feel that your value depends on how much money you make, or how fast you can run, or how many cars you have, or uh, Rolex watch you have on your wrist or the suit that you wear. It's that kind of values that they tend to impose. And if you don't have them, then they don't necessarily tend to verify that you have worth in their eyes. It is true that I think society determines our value to society, but not necessarily in value to ourselves. And I think that's what fitness, the pursuit of fitness, allows us to do. I think that is the why of what we do. I have, again, 50 years of teaching. People have come to me with serious confidence problems, people who are very, very successful, uh, bankers, politicians, uh, business people. Uh, and yet, because they find themselves um, less than physically capable or suffering from lifestyle related afflictions, hypertension, uh, type 2 diabetes, uh, overweight, obesity, these kinds of things that are uh, perhaps not self imposed, but perhaps lifestyle related, meaning that along the way they made some choices that did not benefit them. So, what my work is to show them that these are the choices available to you, and these are the short term and long term benefits that you can achieve. And most of the people recognize if they can cure or they can feel better, if they can improve, whether it's improving their golf game or their blood pressure reduces or their blood sugar drops, uh, that's usually sufficient for them. But it's not the whole story. It's not the whole story. The ability to instruct a person, and I can give you literally hundreds of different instances. Uh, the amount of change in an individual. One person in particular always sticks in my mind, a banker's banker uh, who was not particularly physical. And he joined the fitness center that I owned at that time, and he wanted to, quote unquote, get in shape. It was okay, fine. We started the program. And it was always a struggle to convince him to do just a little bit more. So he says, "No, I can't do that. That's too much for me. I can't do that." So, but if he tried, he was easily successful. It wasn't excessive conditioning. So we would train together, and we would run together. And so we decided that we would attempt the Ome Marathon, which is not a long marathon. I think it was 30 kilometers. It's not full. And we would run together and we practiced, and we had certainly had the capability of finishing 30 kilometers. But um, he had confidence issues. He didn't feel he could do it. I said, "I'll run with you. No problem. We'll run together. We've already run the equivalent in training. It's not a problem." So I would meet him. We scheduled a meeting at the opening of the Ome Marathon where people were gathering and getting ready and changing and whatever. And he was dressed, and I said, "You're not dressed for the run." He says, "I'm not going to run." "And why is that?" He says, "Well, I just don't think I can do it." And I said, "No, you can do it. We've done it, the equivalent already." He says, "No, no." I says, "Look, because I don't want to put my foot down, but you've made it very, you've told a lot of people that you're going to do this, including me, and I have planned on it. So no, I refuse to accept no as an answer. Change up and we'll do the run. I'll run with you. It's not a problem." It took me a while, but he agreed, and he ran the marathon, and about two-thirds of the way through, he really felt good. So he took off and he finished about 20 minutes, not 20 minutes, but about 10 minutes ahead of me. And he was very, very happy. He didn't think he could do it. Well, he did do it. And in the weeks that followed, I would get reports from his family, from people who work with him. what a changed individual he had become. He had become affable and outgoing and extremely confident. It affected everything around him: his family life, his work life, uh, his challenge for different pursuits. He really was a changed man, and that's the kind of thing that fitness allows you to do. It is uh, a measure that you can measure your progress on a day by day basis. You don't need anybody's opinion of whether you look good or are wearing the right clothes or drive the right car. You don't need that. You don't. You need something that you can verify that affects your sense of worth, of value. And I find this time and time again with people who have difficulty uh, with other people, communications, the sense of worth. If you find somebody who has no confidence in their abilities, or deep down do not feel that they have any real general specific worth, it tends to diminish a person. And rather than show that diminished face to people, they adopt another, perhaps overconfident or bellicose attitude. And it's pretty easily recognized. So again, you run, and so I can't run. I don't feel good about running. Well, fine, then walk. Well, but I can't walk for very long. You don't have to walk for very long. Walk 5 minutes. And this is what I tell people who approach an exercise program. Work within your comfort zone. There's a thing called positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. If you exercise too much, then if you have any feelings of inadequacy, it just enhances those feelings of inadequacy. But if you exercise a little bit, it enhances your feelings of self-esteem. I can do this. Oh, I didn't think I could, but I did this. And it doesn't take much. It's 5 minutes, 10 minutes walk one day, and then pretty soon, well, 10 minutes is not enough, so maybe I would try 15 minutes. And then, of course, those people after 15 minutes, they say, well, I'm going to run 10 kilometers, and they fail. And they have serious setbacks. So you have to be cautious about this. The human ego, if you will, is fragile. It requires constant reinforcement. And exercise offers that. If you pursue any kind of resistance training, if you lift 10 kilos for 10 times today, and then gradually that 10 kilos 10 times becomes easier, so I'll do 10 kilos 12 times. And that incremental increase in the improvement in what you do, you would be surprised at how much it enhances a person. It is a measure that is easily referred to, easily measured. Is I have improved. I am getting stronger. I am becoming more and more physically capable. And it used to be it used to be the people who were muscularly enhanced. Let's put it this way. Way back when I was a very young man or boy, the idea that you had an IQ in inverse proportion to the size of your biceps. Well, thankfully, I think we've gotten past that. There are people who take it to an extreme, certainly. And some of these people have serious confidence problems. But we're not talking about serious, we're just reasonably. Gee, I'd like just to have a little bit more ability, a little more confidence. And I think this is the why of what we do. And the verification of that is again, I see this from time to time. I at the risk of being repetitive, I looked around at this coronavirus group of people. They're all my age, and it really was sad. Many of them have this kyphosis where you hunch forward, posture was poor, could barely walk, extremely frail and fragile. And you wonder, What does life have to offer people like that on a personal level? Sure, I'm sure they have family that cares for them, and certainly they have the grandchildren and children that look out for them. But on a personal level, do they feel strong and capable? And in some cases, do they welcome an ultimate end to suffering? It just seems a shame and extremely sad, because these circumstances, in many cases, can be alleviated. The the difficulty is that people don't believe they can. And from a lifetime of not believing in their own ability or diminished self-esteem, it's awfully difficult when you hit old age to capture that particular feeling of, gee, I'm capable, I'm strong. It's not an easy task. Recently, I went to my chosen athletic event. Uh, Again, people very much my age, in the 70s. Uh, and it was a combative sport. Uh, and you have to give the participants credit. They get out on the floor and get out on the mat, and they put their 3-minute match in, and many of them did not do very well, but they came and they fought, and it was great. It just it seems sad to me that with a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of urging, these people could be much more, could enter the winter of their life, so to speak, fully functional, uh, perhaps not on medication, perhaps diminished medication, perhaps with blood pressure under control, with excessive blood sugar under control, with obesity under control, with ability to climb stairs without pain and discomfort, ability to play with their grandchildren and not be exhausted, ability to uh, participate in an aggressive sport and still do well. And it wouldn't take much. It's very interesting to note that, just as a comparison, I may have itemized this particular experiment that was done in Russia years ago. Two groups of people that were, one group was average age was 28, one group average age was 78. And they went through a serious, difficult training regimen. And the 28 years old doubled their strength, and the 78 years old tripled their strength, much stronger. And then they had them take a month off. 28-year-olds lost half their strength, 78-year-olds lost everything. It is precarious. As we get older, it gets increasingly precarious. We reach physical maturity at 22. Depending what we do from that point on, the decline in physical performance and health can be dramatic, or it can be, I wouldn't say non-existent, but compared to others, very, very low. I can't tell you how many people I see who are, they're 50 years of age or 60 years of age and look much older, much older. It just seems sad that a life of especially in Japan, of working hard, of participating in this society, which is very, very civilized, very civilized. People don't beat each other up. People don't yell at each other. People don't experience the kind of extreme behavior you see all over the world, especially in the United States. It's a civilized society, and people contribute, and the society rewards those who contribute, and conversely, takes care of the ones who can't and urges people who can to get out and do something. It's not easy, but it's rewarding. And to see the people who have led a rewarding life and have achieved what they have achieved, either a business success or personal success, raised a family, had children, to be brought down by something that has occurred in the last 20 years that they could completely avoid it. And it could be ameliorated almost completely with exercise. Um, we are not the age we are only. We are the age we are, and every year up to that point. We are the product of those years. We are the product of excesses, and in both good and bad. And looking forward, uh, you cannot preserve life indefinitely, but you can preserve the quality of life, and you can add meaning to life. And so, in that respect, fitness and health are not an objective per se. They are a means of obtaining an objective. And that objective is an enhanced quality of life, an enhanced personal sense of worth, well being, and value. And I think this is why we do this, certainly why I do it. Uh, my personal circumstances as a child were not particularly positive. Rheumatic fever, heart problems, turned out it wasn't so bad, being bullied, overcoming certain things. And, well, let's face it, by the time I was 15, um, the local police force knew me very well. Uh, I knew the inside of a police car very well. And just somebody who was weak and not only physically weak, but I was mentally weak. As a result, I took on the trappings of somebody who was not, and joined with others to form what we would call today delinquent gangs, whatever. But embarking on a weight training program purely by coincidence gave me the feelings of, I can do this. I'm better than what I had been. I am better than stealing things and winding up in police cars. I am better than being a gangster or headed for being a gangster. I'm better than that. And this is what fitness gave to me. It gave me an opportunity to determine my own value, and not from anybody else. Well, nobody at that time, nobody else thought that I had any value at all. And matter of fact, neither did I. But pursuing fitness, all of the benefits that I got stronger, physically stronger, my health improved, all of these things. But more importantly was my opinion of me, of my possibilities, of that I was capable, that I was worthwhile. My self-esteem jumped. I don't know how many. I can't even put a figure on. I can't describe it. It just changed me entirely. So I turned from a borderline, well, not borderline, a juvenile delinquent who had no future, to somebody who did and was determined. Now, pursuing the different martial arts gave me a different approach to certain things, but that's beside the point. The basic core of being valuable, of being self-enhanced, of being capable, of being more than a passive approach to life, allowed me to expand and to grow in ways that certainly nobody anticipated, including myself. So I think we all could take a lesson from me, if you will. Somebody who was, as a young man, a young boy, was lost, confused, no direction, no self-esteem, no worth, embarking upon an exercise program that enhanced him in, I can't tell you how many different ways. And I think this is why this is something we should all consider. And as you get older, those feelings of being capable naturally tend to diminish. We can't avoid that. Can't avoid that. Uh, I exercise many hours every day to avoid the deleterious effects of age. You can't avoid it, but you can certainly ameliorate the negative aspects of aging. There's no doubt about it. I mean, as we age, the arterial walls tend to become constricted. Uh, uh, Hypertension ensues. Uh, we tend to eat perhaps not the best foods for us. And if we do nothing, then they have their effect. Blood fats improve. Blood fats get worse. Body fat gets worse. So we get heavier, we get slower, we develop perhaps arterial blockage, and eventually very serious cardiovascular difficulties. All of these things can be alleviated. Uh, Pulse rate goes up, elevates, because the heart has to pump more and more blood through adipose tissue. That goes away. Uh, if you're careful, liver and kidney function improve. But more than that, your attitude improves. How you deal with people, how you work with people, because your sense of who you are, of your worth, of your value, that improves as well. And it's not hard. It's not hard. Uh, you have to stay within parameters. Uh, as I mentioned previously, there's this positive reinforcement. Uh, when you exercise, when you finished exercise, you should feel better than when you started. You should feel refreshed. You should feel on top. You should not feel beaten up. A lot of people make that mistake. The mistake that I've seen in a lot of gyms is they either lift too much, they exercise too hard, or too much, or not enough. So they get no training effect. There is a happy medium, and it varies with the individual. And that's why the internet is out there, the information, and that's why this broadcast is in English on Thursday evenings. We try and do the same thing on Tuesdays in Japanese to give people guidelines of what they can do and what they should be careful of when they do it. I don't know how many people are out there listening. The English broadcast doesn't get a lot of participation, unfortunately, but it is archived. And if people want a little bit of insights into exercise, what to do, and how to do it, this is really what this broadcast is all about. But tonight is the why. And I think it's important for us to recognize that we all need we need a pat on the back. We need to say, yes, we did this. And whether that comes from you or whether it comes from somebody who is concerned about you, uh, the closer you are to that person, the more impact that person's comments have. And I would caution you, the people who, it's interesting, the human condition. I've been fortunate to deal with people who are positively motivated, but there are a lot of people out there who will attempt to minimize you and your efforts. I would suggest that you do not listen to them. Regardless of the well-meaning of these individuals, whether they are concerned about your safety or your health, they are, number one, not professionals. So they do not know what they're talking about, number one. And number two, it seems that the human condition, especially with people who don't have this sense of elevated self-esteem, if you fail, they feel better about not trying. And again, it's a very cynical approach to people, and I understand it. All my life, people have told me, don't do this. Don't lift weights. Uh, don't choose the Air Force. Don't participate in the martial arts. Don't go to Japan. When I was in Japan, I started in Kyoto for 3 years. Don't go to Tokyo. Don't start to work in a fitness center. Don't start your own company. It's interesting that I'm sure these people had my well-being in mind, uh, but not all of them, I'm sure. I don't like to look at people like this, but believe me, there are people, and we make our own choices of where we're going to go and what we're going to do. I cannot stress strongly enough the single best choice you will ever make in your life, because it affects so many things. It affects you personally, it affects your health, your mental state, your physical capacity, your relationships with others, your sense of self-worth, your work performance. A very simple thing like going to the gym 3 and 4 times a week, doing an exercise program that enhances you and makes you feel better when you're done, and leads to adopting different methods of maintaining your health, like perhaps better nutrition, perhaps not drinking as much alcohol, perhaps avoiding people who smoke, perhaps reducing stress. Not that exercise doesn't reduce stress, but avoiding stressful circumstances. That single activity of going to the gym and going through an exercise regimen 3 and 4 times a week will change your life. I have seen it time and time again over 50 years working with literally thousands of people. And it's not like I have all the answers. Usually it's a combination of the medical profession, professional nutritionists, and exercise specialists. So if you really wish to, and I think we all do, to lead a better, more productive, more enhanced life, feeling better about yourself and the world that you live in, uh, I think adopting an exercise regimen, of doing what we talk about on this broadcast on Thursday evenings, will help you. And I will help you. I'll offer the information that you need. We have a chat. If you can send me the information or just type in what you would like to hear, I'd be happy to take up whatever topic you would like to hear about. Uh, in the future, we have some topics. We've covered stress and weight loss and aerobic training and thermoregulation, knee problems, lower back problems. The next topic, we're going to talk a little bit about nutrition. Now, I'm not a nutritionist, but nutrition is changing a great deal. Uh, some of what we used to do, what used to be a proper diet, is changing radically. But again, that depends on the individual. And if you have questions about nutrition, regardless of listening to this broadcast, I would suggest you talk to a nutritionist and get a diagnosis of exactly what you eat, whether it's benefiting you or not. I'd like to cover the conservation of energy as a basis for improvement, physical improvement. That gets a little technical, but I think it's a good idea to understand why. I get a lot of questions of, gee, I'm such and such an age and can I improve? You can always improve. You can always improve. Unless you have a medical condition that prevents you from doing this, you can always improve. You can lose weight. You can lower blood pressure. You can lower blood sugar. All of these things are possible. You can feel better, both emotionally and physically. You can do things that you always wanted to do but didn't have the physical capacity. You can do these things. All it requires is a little bit of commitment on your part, and these things will be manifest sooner than you could possibly think. We're going to go through resistance training. It'll probably take at least 2 episodes to cover all the different aspects of it. And again, this is not individual personal training, but if you require that, you can contact me or you can go on the internet. It's as I mentioned before in this broadcast, it is not so much the information on the internet is right or wrong. is it right or wrong for you? And that's the key. So keep that in mind. Uh, Cover flexibility, the different types of ways of achieving flexible body, what that gets you in terms of uh, increased movement, of minimizing fatigue, different the the ballistic stretch, which hopefully people will not do. Still in Japan and certain countries they still do it, which is a huge mistake, and I'll explain why. The static stretching, which is more or less what people do now, and then there's also what they call PNF, peripheral proliferal neuromuscular facilitation. It's a mouthful, and that's what professional athletes do. So it's assisted uh, flexibility exercises. And there's also different types for different sports and for lower back. And there's a whole series of flexibility uh, concepts and exercises that I can show you. We're going on to posture, which has a lot to do with flexibility. And we covered a little bit of that in lower back problems. And then we'd like to get into perhaps some of the afflictions that are certainly common in Japan: hypertension, diabetes, and how lifestyle affects those. Uh, Way back when we began this English broadcast, I mentioned the World Health Organization's guidelines on not stopping smoking, eliminating alcohol, reducing stress, uh, losing weight, or at least maintaining an optimum weight, uh, plenty of sleep, and daily exercise. So that was covered in previously, but uh, how those different parameters affect hypertension and diabetes is something that I think you'll find interesting. So that's the schedule for the next at least 6 weeks, 7 weeks. Uh, I'll try and put as much meaningful information out there as I can. I encourage you to, if you listen to something I have to say and it's not clear, either contact me or the information is certainly readily available on the internet. Be cautious. There is a lot on the internet propagated by people who, well, let's put it this way. If somebody says, I have the secrets to achieving optimum health and fitness, and for $19.95, I will happy to give you those secrets in my book. Right away, I think you should sit back. And some of these presentations are very, very convincing. And they're put up there by a group of, in many cases, of professional marketing professionals who know how to work on every little concern that you have. Be cautious. And if you need some verification, this chat room is open on Thursdays from 7:30 to 8:30, depending on attendance, around it. Feel free to join in and to type in your comments. Or you can contact me, drop me a line at nbwilson@gol.com. I'll say that again, nbwilson@gol.com. And just drop me a line. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have, as long as it doesn't take 2 or 3 books to do it. People once in a while ask me, what is the source of energy? Well, then there is a biochemical breakdown of sugar in the body, which takes about 3 pages of formula. I don't think that's what you're looking for, but I would be happy to generally outline where energy comes from and how it's utilized, and why people exercise a great deal and don't seem to be dropping weight. So with that, I will bid you a good evening, and I hope that I will see you next Thursday at 7:30. Thank you for joining. I hope you find this beneficial, and I hope you find subsequent podcasts beneficial. And please feel free to drop me a line whenever you feel like it. Again, thank you very much. Good night. Stay well.